Hello, and welcome back to Visiting Dugout, a Fans First Sports production. I'm Chrystal O'Keefe. Today I have my friend Brett back on to talk about the Phillies once more. Hello, please reintroduce yourself.
Hey, Crystal. Thanks for having me again. Looking forward to chatting some Phillies. They've always been a team that I've enjoyed just, as a kind of a secondary fun to my White Sox. And yeah, they've been having a really interesting season.
Yes, so let's talk about that. So we'll figure out what's new. They just dropped to second. Sorry, as a also Mets fan about that. But what else is going on this season?
Well, they've had some really weird in the last week. They've had some really weird games happen. Like, they won on a walk-off catcher's interference. That doesn't happen. Second time like ever, basically. Um, they had some really high highs with, Schwarber at the All-Star game. That was a blast. It looks like Bryce Harper's maybe coming around. And maybe Jesus Luzardo is tipping his pitches in the stretch. Like there's a lot of highs and a lot of lows going on right now. And, with the trade deadline just a week away, I think it's really interesting to see what's going to happen. So it's been, like I said, it's been an interesting time to follow this team.
Yeah. Speaking of this trade deadline, what are you hoping for that you see that the Phillies actually do, if anything?
I hope that they go get, a proven bullpen arm. I think that, obviously they got old friend of the White Sox, David Robertson, last week, which that came in as kind of a surprise. And I think that there's a band of people who were a little bit upset with that move. But at the end of the day, the Phillies need bullpen arms because losing Jose Alvarado to the PEDs was really, really tragic. And honestly, I think more than anything, when it happened, it kind of killed the vibe for a while. Like,
Mhm.
because, Jose was such a mood maker, such a team guy, fans all love him. And then it kind of just made all these other guys have to feel more responsible for carrying the bullpen, right? And it's been up and down. Jordan Romano has been a constant source of vitriol for a lot of Phillies fans. But really, like, they just, Dave Dombrowski, he's willing to trade. He's willing to go get guys. He's willing to ship off prospects. It's just a matter of how aggressive he's willing to be. Because in addition to maybe needing a bullpen guy, there is a very valid argument to go get an outfielder, to go help with our center field issues and just get another guy in that lineup. So I'm very curious to see which route they decide to take. Maybe one, maybe the other, or maybe they just say screw it and just go get everyone and anything they can.
They're legitimate contenders this year. That would make sense too. Obviously the White Sox are not going to be buyers at the trade deadline because they're just turning it all around. We're riding the ship.
Hey, maybe the Phillies will be one to get Luis Robert Jr. I know that, his name and the Phillies have been floating around for what feels like an eternity now, last
Yeah.
couple of years, but if they really want to get after an outfield, we've got a guy.
It'll be a sad day to see him go, but yeah, hey, whatever it takes at this point. So, as far as the season goes, are you feeling rather optimistic? I know you mentioned it's been a little weird lately, but are you feeling really optimistic about where the team's headed?
I think like especially in like the last like week or so, I would say I'm a little more optimistic than I was before the All-Star break. I think that it's been said for a while now, but the Phillies like offensive success really seems to just get such a kickstart if Bryce Harper is on. And I think I've just come to accept this saying that I saw someone mention this the other day. It's when Bryce Harper is hitting opposite field home runs to left field, you just know that he's on. And he, kind of started this hot streak the last few days now with an opposite field home run. And he's just kind of found his power back again. He can always hit for a decent average kind of at any time in his career, but just being able to find the power back and just be like that surefire point of success, that's a huge help for the Phillies. But it also helps that like Trey Turner and Kyle Schwarber, they're also having great seasons as well. So it's great to have all your stars kind of performing at the same time. But there is a glaring issue at the bottom of their lineup. Guys like, Bohm, Stott, Marsh, Kepler, all have been pretty bad for a good while now. And it kind of is turning into this, all right, the top half of the lineup is okay. The bottom half of the lineup, they need to find their way. The thing is, though, is that there are guys who, it's a long season. The Phillies kind of have they have that cushion where them and the Mets are, kind of really just battling between each other. They're not having to worry about the Braves because the Braves have been awful this year. And, I think that those guys are going to be able to find their way, but it can't go on for too much longer.
I checked in on where those standings were. I didn't even realize even the Marlins are above the Braves at this point. That is a huge downfall, which I love to see it. I pray for days like this. The Braves' downfall. I hate them so much. So good. I'm
We are
happy.
united on that front.
Braves and the Nationals. I don't like the Nationals either, but the other teams I don't hate, I guess. So we're going to take a very quick break, and then we'll get back to what this series might look like. All right. Thank you for paying our bills, everyone. So we'll break down the series with the Phillies. We're recording a little earlier, so we don't quite have the pitching matchups. And the White Sox have been in a very weird winning position. We don't know what this Cubs series will look like, but it would be hilarious if they sweep the Cubs because the Cubs are kind of down on their luck right now. And they have like no pitching, which is wonderful to see. But as far as pitching goes with the Phillies, what is that looking like right now?
I think Zach Wheeler, if he gets the bump during this series, like he is the epitome of just consistency. He feels like you're going to get 6 or 7 innings with 1 or 2 runs. Feels like practically every start. And then sometimes he'll go the distance occasionally or just, really spin the ball well. But, really after Wheeler, Christopher Sanchez has been like I wouldn't call it a surprise for me personally, but I think to a lot of people, Christopher Sanchez has been a really pleasant surprise. If those two guys get starts during the series, I'm a little bit worried for the Sox there. But after Wheeler and Sanchez, Giannis Luzardo has been one of the more polarizing starters as of recent, with the Phillies. Like last night, for example, he was throwing a no-hitter through 5 and ended up with like 6 earned runs. And then Ranger Suarez had been dealing up to his last start and then gave up, I think, another 6 or 7 runs in that start. So that kind of bottom half of the rotation is looking a little volatile right now. Now, the problem is, of course, all those guys are studs. All 4 of them. So on any given day, it wouldn't be terribly surprising to see them get 7 innings of pretty minimal run scoring for the White Sox then. But the faster we get their starters out of the game, I think the Sox have a much better chance of actually making something happen.
And we just saw that, the last 2 nights with the White Sox, they got to starters early. And I mean, last night they came back from being down and really attacked their bullpen. And I know Tampa Bay's bullpen is very bad. I talked about it on that episode. They just kind of implode. So it's nice to actually see some and the Sox fan in you. I know it's nice to actually see some aggression from these teams, from these guys playing and the young kids.
Yeah, it's just
especially.
Yeah, I think it's so cool. Like the Sox are just gonna keep fighting, and I think like when we start playing these really good teams, like I think it's not even gonna be as much about just the wins and just the losses. It's hey, if we play 3, like I think of that Blue Jays series that the Sox just had.
Right.
We played some very competitive games against that really hot Blue Jays team. Like we were the ones that kind of helped. We kind of paused the door on that win streak that they had going on. And I think that whether it's the Phillies or kind of any good team for the rest of the season, if we can have these competitive games where, we're resilient when we're down and scoring runs. We're able to still fight even when things don't go the Sox's way. Like, I think that would be a very successful series. It's just a matter of, you know, we're in a little bit of a gauntlet now. Like, the Rays are a great team, and we did awesome against them. So great. The Cubs are also a really, really good team. Top five in the league, probably. The Phillies are a really good team. Top five in the league. So, I think that my hope is that at the end of this gauntlet, by the time we get to this Phillies series, that I hope the guys are still kind of mentally sharp and just playing baseball the right way at the end of the day.
I'd also say we saw it ahead of the All-Star break too with the Dodgers. They didn't win those games, but they were incredibly competitive against a very hot Dodgers team, which it's like great to actually see this happening. So we'll see. So speaking of the Phillies, though, we'll go back to them. Who do you think might be the biggest threat the White Sox are going to face with the Phillies?
I feel like, on the lineup side of things, like I just feel like Schwarber has been on this prolonged streak of just being really, really solid. And especially because, Schwarber is really prone to striking out a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And the Sox's rotation isn't very strikeout heavy. Although it was nice to see Cannon get 9 strikeouts last night. Cool.
It was.
That was very cool. Um, but especially if Schwarber has been hitting for average so much better than he ever has in his career, and the fact that, we don't have a ton of swing and miss, like crazy, nasty stuff from our starters, I really feel like he could be very dangerous because being a lefty at Sox Park it's pretty nice. You can get a lot of homers there. So I'd be really on the lookout for Schwarber. And if Schwarber and Harper are both dangerous there, that's going to be a challenge having to pitch to them back to back. Because the Phillies lineup used to be where Schwarber led off, and then you maybe had Trey Turner and then Bryce Harper. But now they've been having, Schwarber and Harper either go back to back, which that makes it dangerous because you have to pitch to both.
So, in that kind of same vein, what are the keys for the Phillies to actually just take this series from the White Sox entirely?
I think that, the Phillies, they really are at their best when they are just being aggressive. They're putting up runs early because the Phillies, like, they're historically not as great on the resiliency side of things. Like, I've seen a lot of games where when things go already early, there's a big pause in those kind of innings following. I feel like if the Phillies are able to do damage early and keep their starters in the game as long as possible, that's probably their best plan to success in this series. Because even though our record is what our record is, I think teams are going to be looking at the White Sox and saying, all right, these guys are red hot. They're kind of playing with house money at this point. Because obviously they're not chasing after a playoffs or anything like that. But you look at the fact that the Sox have put up 7+ runs in almost, I think, all of our games or almost all of our games so far back, and double digits in a lot of them. They're going to be really awry on how can we prevent runs the best we can.
Yeah, I think it was what, 49 runs in those 6
Yeah,
games in total,
so many runs.
which is more runs than I think they had in the first half of the
Yeah,
season.
yeah, seriously. Too many 0 run and 1 run performances in the early season. To now this. This is fun.
Yeah, I was at the second game of the Pirates series where they went absolutely insane in the 6th inning, and I looked at my son, and at the time they were down, and we had a plan to kind of beat out the traffic and leave in the 8th inning, and he was like, "Are they going to keep scoring runs though? Like, if they're going to keep scoring runs, I want to be here for this."
It's a
It's
fun
like,
luxury we have right now. Like, I got home from softball last night. I'm like, I instantly have to get this game on because they were battling back while I was eating dinner. I'm like, I need to get back home.
I was trying to write a preview for Bleed Cubby Blue. They asked me to do a preview for the crosstown series each time, and I was back and forth like, deleting paragraphs, and then, oh no, they're back, they're gonna win, and then it's like the ninth inning, and I'm like, oh my god, is this just sustainable? Am I gonna rewrite this again? I finally got it to Al, and I was like, this is down to the wire, and I'm sorry that game was so stressful. I didn't know if they were for real or not. But here is this.
But they
Have
are.
fun with it. So, on the opposite end of that, do you have any fears heading into this series?
I would say that getting running into a buzzsaw like the White Sox and getting destroyed by them would be a very bad momentum shifter, I think. Because, the Phillies, like, even though their record kind of remains like is remained relatively consistent, and they haven't had like the highs and the lows of last season, like it's been more kind of just couple wins, loss, couple wins, loss, couple wins, loss. I think that going down like to this White Sox team would probably, not just from the players' perspective, but I think from the fans' perspective, would like drive them to their brink, I think. Now, as a White Sox fan, I have different opinions. But of course, from the Phillies' point of view here, this is a series that, like, I just think that they need to play to who they are and really just try and take at least two.
Yeah, I know a lot of people, and I just had this conversation very recently. A lot of people kind of discount the White Sox because, like you said earlier, they're not going to the playoffs this season. They're probably not going next season. They're just trying to piece together a couple wins here and there at this point. But we're watching this incredibly hot streak, and they're making pitchers look like amateurs at this. Like, I mean, um, amazing pitchers. Drew Rasmussen was the best example. Like, they kind of made him look like a joke for a bit, and so people aren't taking them seriously when they should, because at the end of the day, they are still a Major League Baseball team. They do still have some superstars on the team, and some of these teams just kind of go in and put themselves on autopilot when in reality they're just as legitimate as the next. Their
I,
record
th-
just doesn't reflect that clearly.
I think some of these teams, are thinking, all right, it's the end of July. We're in the dregs of the season. We just got to grind through July and August. And then, you look at a team like the Sox, who has this renowned and kind of reset focus, and just like they're locked in, they have new objectives, they have new goals, and they're kind of just going for it. And so, like, you're running into different teams with different mindsets, and I think that could be the difference too.
So, moving away from these respective teams, what have you been noticing this season? I mean, this is kind of like a your hot takes, or just what you're liking or disliking, or just what you're noticing about baseball this season in general.
Ooh. I guess when it comes to the trade deadline, the thing I was thinking to myself this morning is that, like, I think the Diamondbacks are kind of have this stronghold on the trade deadline,
Hmm.
and the entire thing, in my opinion, is going to revolve on whether they are legit sellers or only half-hearted sellers. Like, do they want to get rid of all their pieces? That's going to change big things. But it kind of revolves all around them, because most of the it's like, all right, is Eugenio Suarez, it seems like he's getting dealt at this point, right? But is that it? Do they hold on to their pitchers? Do they get rid of them? I think, like, I'm a little impatient just because we're a week away only, and I'm just like, man, I would love to see a good trade. Like, wouldn't that be so fun? But it just kind of seems like they have like this death grip on the trade market right now.
Who do you think gets Suarez if he goes anywhere?
See, I really, I really would have thought that he would have went to New York.
Okay.
I really would have, but I say that in past tense because I think it's become so increasingly aware that their organization's run on defense right now is just so disgustingly bad that their offense is fine. Like,
Yeah.
the Yankees are just going to boom bat. They have, like, they're in a great position where they're going to have two great hitters on the bench every day. The problem is that, the Blue Jays, I think, are a great example right now. They're exposing them, like, big time. Like, they had, like, well, 4 errors plus one more. It was a Bellinger that he just completely didn't even see the ball. Um, so I think, like, they're going to go get they're going to go get a different third baseman who can play some defense. I think Suarez, I don't like this move, but I think he's going to be a Red.
Really?
I think there's been some mutual interest so far. And
That's close enough to me to drive and see him. That would be worthwhile.
I did not really kind of recognize how close Cincinnati actually was. They're only like 2.5, 3 games out of the wild card.
Yeah. That's
It's the
sneaky.
Cardinals that have fallen farther out and the Diamondbacks that have fallen farther out. But I didn't realize the Reds were like really in it. So I know the Reds have usually been willing to be pretty wheeling and dealing around the deadline. So
They need to build somebody around Ellie. They've
yes,
got
like
pieces there.
right. And I think the Yankees got to this point where they're like, all right, we don't want to give away a ton for a rental. But because they're going to probably make the playoffs regardless of if they get trade deadline acquisitions on the batting side or not. But the Reds, like, if they get the Eugenio Suarez that's been killing it, that could really make the difference because the Reds have awesome pitching.
Mm-hmm. You invoked the Cardinals, which reminded me. Does Erick Fedde get picked up? He was recently DFA'd.
I bet someone picks him up. My pipe dream is that the Sox pick him up for innings. I would love it because clearly it's worked like in the
Yep.
past. The only reason I could not see it end up panning out, at least for the White Sox, though, is I believe this is the last year of his deal.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of just taking on money just to eat innings when they have options, although not great options, that are sitting in AAA right now. Like, for example, Noah Syndergaard. He is in AAA. He could eat innings later on in the season. But I bet Fedde gets picked up by a kind of like maybe another fringe contender.
It's not so bad. I don't know what happened to Erick Fedde. He was perfectly fine. Like, I loved his time on the Sox. I was happy about his time there, and I'm kind of in that same camp of I would bring him back just because these kids, their arms are going to be falling off pretty soon because all we have are these very young guys who are not at that Erick Fedde level of professionalism. But I feel bad. He
And
really
our
just fell
innings
off.
eaters are probably gone.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if, Hauser and even Savale, like, both of them could go.
Yeah.
So I think that, someone's going to have to eat the innings later on, even though our bullpen's been amazing. Shout out bullpen. They've been awesome. Like, best ERA in the AL for, like, the last month, which is
Mm-hmm.
just. And when I saw that on the broadcast, I think like yesterday or the day before, my jaw genuinely dropped.
Really pleasant surprise. This, especially since this post All-Star break, it's been just wild to watch. And I talked about it, ahead of All-Star break, especially during that Dodgers series. I was like, they are fun bad right now. Like, we've approached fun bad territory where at least I don't want to slam my laptop shut when they have like a boneheaded error. Now, like, dare I say, they've been really fun to watch no matter what.
Yeah,
So for the bullpen to also be picking up, just perfect.
seeing the people say that we're not fun bad at this point after this Rays series, I'm like, if you like, how could you not, as a fan, have fun watching those last couple games?
Yeah, rewatching the same team. What's happening here?
Yeah,
No,
like,
it's
yes,
been
I
fun.
think fun bad is still the great way to describe it because there's still gonna be a lot of growing pains, and like it's not like we're at this like peak right now and then are just gonna like fall off a cliff for the whole rest of the season, right? I think it's shown that certain guys they're gonna have their stretches, right? Like Vargas really struggled for quite a while, and now he's starting to find it again. And Mydroth like is kind of still in that he's just coming out of that struggle period, right? And it's allowed other guys to flourish and really have their moment. Like, you know, I think Caro, like, he's gonna, have some more time to really, like, get some good time. I hope Brooks Baldwin kind of starts to really, find his way a little bit, both offensively and defensively. Like, it'll give him some more opportunities.
And I think he is. I think he is finding his way offensively. He's been really also just fun to watch. And I always joke that he looks like my child. So it's fun watching him play
Yeah, he
because
kind of
they're
does.
identical. Like, look, I mean, he also looks 15, so
Yeah.
that doesn't necessarily help it. But yeah, I'm just like, oh, that's my kid out there playing. I'm his mother.
Yep.
Well, that's what I've got for you. Thank you again so much for coming on and talking about the Phillies and a little additional White Sox. Can you please just let people know where they can find you?
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on. Had a great time doing this last year, and really looking forward to the Sox Phillies series. I'll be rooting for the Sox every game, of course, but I just hope to see some good games, like I mentioned before. You can find me on Twitter/X, whatever you want to call it, at halfball7. While you're at it, go follow Sox on 35th. We're doing a lot of cool stuff over there, even when the record isn't always amazing. But I'm really excited for all the cool things and all the young guys that we have that are going to make covering the Sox this next couple years a lot more fun. So I'm looking forward to it. But more importantly, very excited to be at the Sox Cubs game tomorrow.
Have fun. I am staying so far away from that.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm ready to take all the smoke from Cub fans, including my two best friends who are both Cub fans.
Gonna break out the short alls for this
They
series.
will be back. I have not worn them in quite a while, but they are going to make a reappearance tomorrow.
Good, good. All right. Well, thank you again so much. Best of luck in this upcoming series and best of luck at the Cubs Sox series.
Yes, thanks, Chrystal. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye bye.